These are my top videos when moving to Gainesville, Florida. In these videos, I'm covering what you need to know when you're moving here, the reasons you should move here, and the top pros and cons of moving to the Gainesville area. And this compilation should include everything you need to know about coming to the Gainesville, Florida area, because I always want to be your resource, so I hope this is helpful in determining if Gainesville is the right place for you. After the video, if you've got additional questions or if you're looking for help buying a home in the Gainesville area, I'll drop a link for a discovery call below.
One of the top reasons you need to come to Gainesville? The weather. And I know everybody tends to flock to Florida because our weather is awesome, but what's really great about Gainesville is it's in North Central Florida. So you're gonna get the same amazing summertime outdoor weather, but unlike far south Florida, you're gonna get a little bit more change of seasons. There actually is a little bit of a fall. Winters get a little bit colder, but just enough so that by the time spring rolls around, you're ready to put on your shorts and your flip-flops. It's not as intensely hot as some of Florida can be. In fact, I think it's just the right mix of cool and warmth so that you can enjoy all the seasons. One of my favorite parts about Gainesville, Florida is that it's this really interesting melting pot of community and small town feel that's blended together with a lot of things to do. Because Gainesville has 2 universities and 3 major hospitals and a lot of small businesses popping up every day, there's a lot going on, but there's the community aspect of Gainesville that I think is really unique. You get a small town feel, people know each other, but there's more than one stoplight and there's a lot of things to do so that you're not bored on a Saturday night. Do you like sports? Well, if you do, then Gainesville's got you covered because we have all of them. On any given day or night, you can find a sporting event in this town. With the Florida Gators right in our backyard, there is no shortage of events that you can attend. Obviously, tailgating, football is huge here, but there's an array of other sports. You've got tennis, volleyball, track, golf, baseball, softball. The list goes on. Ever been to a gymnastics meet? Because our team is amazing. In fact, the University of Florida has the most SEC championships of any other school in the SEC. We have 250 SEC championships, and the second school on the list hasn't even gotten close to 200. So not only do you have a ton of sports to go to, but you're probably gonna have a lot of victories to celebrate. And who doesn't like to eat? Gainesville has some really amazing restaurants to offer. Awesome steakhouses like Mark's Prime, you've got gourmet sushi at Dragonfly or Volcanic Sushi, and some delicious Mexican food at Cilantro Tacos or Sublime Tacos. And you can't forget about Las Margaritas, Halo Potato Donuts, or the fact that downtown we have a food truck park. And not only is the weather a very important factor for Gainesville, but Gainesville offers some of the most beautiful natural springs and parks and trails. If you're a bike enthusiast, we've got a ton of trails to offer you. And if you've got kids, the playgrounds here seem to almost be on every corner. And if springs are your thing and you like to scuba dive or just grab your favorite beverage and float, there are a handful of springs right near the Gainesville area that you can enjoy. Some of them are actually state parks, and you might even get to see some really cool Mother Nature while you float down the river. I told you Gainesville's got good food. Well, Gainesville also has some really good farmers markets. They happen all throughout the week. There's a really popular one downtown on Wednesdays. On Saturday afternoons, Hale Plantation has a huge farmers market where you can get arts and crafts, local honey, meat, eggs, produce. And the Tioga Town Center in the Jonesville area has another one on Monday afternoons that offer an array of local produce and fresh food that come right from the ground to that market. Little known fact, did you know that Tom Petty is from Gainesville? It's true, and in honor of his amazing music and in celebration of his life, Gainesville has Tom Petty Fest every year in March. It's an amazing concert in his honor and a really great outdoor activity that Gainesville offers. If you're looking for something else to do in your free time in Gainesville, there are a ton of museums, and a vast majority of them are free. We have art museums, science museums, history museums. There's so much that this place has to offer. We even have a butterfly exhibit, though you do pay to get into that one. Gainesville is located in North Central Florida. So what that means is we are equidistant to either side of the coast. So if you want to jet off to the beach in St. Augustine or Cedar Key, it's only going to take you an hour to an hour and a half to get there. And if you love theme parks, Gainesville is only an hour and a half to 2 hours away from Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, and right on up into Georgia. And my final point to bring it all home is that the cost of living in Gainesville is super cheap. If you pull up the national average, we are below many of the areas in the nation. In fact, when you go to costofliving.net, 100 is kind of the median. Above 100 is more expensive and below 100 is less expensive. Gainesville falls in around 89. And if you want to compare housing, Gainesville falls at 79.2 on the list. You want to know where New York is? New York is at 294.3% for housing. So come to Gainesville. You can have a house and you can live in it too, and still have money left over to go see sports, go to a museum, or maybe even check out one of our amazing local restaurants. There's my top 10. Gainesville is a phenomenal place to live. I've been here since 2004. Full disclosure, I came here to go to the University of Florida. I graduated and I never left. But you know what? If you talk to enough people, that tends to be a general trend in this area. Gainesville is an awesome place to live, to raise a family, to grow up. It's got great weather. It has an awesome small town feel, but still offers a ton to do. There's sports galore and lots of victories to go with them. The restaurants are awesome. The cost of living is so low, and you can totally enjoy the outdoors, the springs, the parks. There's farmers markets, Tom Petty Fest. You've got great museums to check out, and it's centrally located to both coasts as well as theme parks. So if you need to get out of town, you just hop in your car and you can do it in an hour. Welcome to Gainesville. You are going to love it here. I've had the pleasure of living in Gainesville since 2004. I, like many people, came up here to go to college, and when I graduated, I never left. And it's been great. So let's dive into some of the local insights that you may be wondering about and that you certainly need to know from one local to soon to be another. So the first thing is that Gainesville has great museums, and many of them are free to go to. The Harn, the Florida Museum of Natural History, the Cade Museum, and many more. Now, if you do go to the Florida Natural History Museum, pro tip, that museum is free, but they do have some paid exhibits, including their butterfly exhibit. Totally worth the cost of admission, but just so you know, not all of it's free. Tip number 2, Gainesville is a college town, both with the University of Florida and Santa Fe College. So the pro tip that I'm going to give you is that on game days for UF, you need to avoid University Avenue, Southwest 13th Street, and Archer Road like the plague. And game days start at various times. Sometimes games start at noon, sometimes games start at 8 o'clock. So pay attention to the schedule, and if you're heading down to tailgate, enjoy. But if you're trying to do a quick grocery run, find another area of town to go to. And speaking of our college town and things you may want to avoid, in the beginning of the spring semester for UF and Santa Fe, under no circumstance are you to go to Sam's, Walmart, Target, or any other big box store, because every single incoming freshman and their parents will be bombarding the aisles and the cash registers. Either order it on Amazon or get it a week later. Number 4, going local here in Gainesville is super easy to do. Not only do we have some really amazing local restaurants, but we also have awesome breweries, and we even have a food park down on 4th Avenue. Tip number 5, if you like to be outside, Gainesville has over 80 parks to offer. There are amazing trails, playgrounds, there's even pet-friendly options. So no matter where you are in town, odds are you're close to a really great park. And number 6, which this one's super fun because it's truly unique to Gainesville, the 34th Street Wall, sometimes known as the Graffiti Wall. And yes, graffiti is absolutely encouraged. This wall is almost a quarter-mile long, right off of 34th Street. According to visitgainesville.com, the wall was originally built in the 1970s by the Florida Department of Transportation to prevent erosion when 34th Street was widened into 4 lanes. The 34th Street wall is like a giant piece of living art. You're going to see everything on there, from professional painters coming and doing beautiful murals to birthday announcements and maybe even a marriage proposal. The murals on the wall change daily and sometimes hourly, and pretty much everything goes. There is one part of the wall though that is deemed sacred and is not supposed to be painted over, and that's right at the top of the hill. And that's a really important mural that was painted on the wall to commemorate some real tragedy that happened in the 90s when some UF students' lives were tragically taken. And while it's technically not legal to paint on the 34th Street wall, the law has not been enforced in years, and law officials actually have put garbage cans along the 34th Street wall just to make sure you can dispose of all your supplies appropriately. My seventh and final tip for your Gainesville local insights are choosing your own adventure. There's a ton to do in Gainesville. We have lots of trails to hike. There's gorgeous springs that are just a short drive away. You can do hiking, biking, and visit one of our several museums, theaters, or galleries. Rain or shine, Gainesville's always got something to offer you. It's the age-old question, do you want the good news or the bad news first? As an eternal optimist, I like to end on a high note. So here come the top 5 cons of moving to Gainesville. Number 1, property taxes. In the Gainesville-Alachua County area, we have 2 major universities, 3 major hospitals, and a ton of churches. Not sure if you know this, but none of them pay property taxes. And particularly when it comes to hospitals and universities, they take up a large amount of real estate. So essentially, you have half of the population, the residents, paying for 100% of the property taxes. So those tend to be a lot higher in our area than in other cities. For example, a house that's on a quarter of an acre, your typical front yard, backyard, can expect to possibly pay $3,000 a year in taxes, whereas a house on 5 acres outside of the county might only pay $1,000. Number 2 is distance to the beach. Yes, Gainesville is in Florida, but no, it's not a coastal town. In fact, we're kind of right smack dab in the middle. The benefit of that is it's sort of equidistant to either coast, and it takes about an hour and a half to either go east or west and hit the beach. But if you're hoping to move here and go to the beach within 5 minutes or less, Gainesville's gonna be a bit of a transition for you. And 3, Gainesville has a small regional airport. It is convenient so that you can fly direct to major airports like Dallas, Atlanta, sometimes Charlotte, but getting flights out of here can sometimes be much more expensive. It is a 90-minute to 2-hour drive to Tampa, Jacksonville, or Orlando to hit those major international airports. And 4, we've got to talk about the weather. There's some great things about it, but in summer, it is oppressively hot and humid. You know that you truly are a Floridian when during the months of June, July, and August, you will park further away because there's 3 inches of shade rather than getting an upfront spot that has no protection from the sun at all. And then 5 would be higher utility bills. With GRU in our area, we have some of the highest utility bills in the state. Now, do your research, because depending upon where you live in Gainesville, you're not always going to be on GRU. But if you are in their grid, just prepare for a much higher monthly utility bill. And now shifting gears, because the only place to go from here is up. The 5 pros of moving to Gainesville. Number 1 for me would be the winter weather. In winter, we have a much more mild temperature than just about anywhere else in the state. You're not really gonna see snow. On rare occasions, you might have some frost, and sometimes you do have to cover plants outside overnight. But generally, you're gonna be able to enjoy the outdoors all year long. And number 2 would be the fact that Florida has no income tax. By moving here to our Gainesville area or anywhere within the state, you're gonna see some major tax savings. Number 3, the cost of living in Gainesville is below the national average. So particularly if you've got a remote paying job, your paycheck's gonna stretch a lot farther in Gainesville than in many other major cities in the US. And 4 is really the culture of Gainesville. Gainesville has this very wonderful small town feel. I really enjoyed raising my kids here, but because of the hospitals, because of the university, there's a lot of diversity and culture and events and things to do that without the university, without the hospitals, probably wouldn't exist. So there's this awesome melting pot of culture and community that I really love about Gainesville. And 5, speaking of those very same universities and hospitals, it offers Gainesville a very stable economy. As some of Gainesville's most common employers, we know the hospitals and university aren't going anywhere, so it provides really good stability for our community. The good, the bad, the ugly. Every community is going to have their mix of those things, and depending upon your point of view, they may bother you or not. They may draw you here or not. But taking this list is going to give you a really great idea of things you can prepare for and expect when you come to the Gainesville area. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.